June 4th, 1942. The Pacific looks calm, but war is already moving beneath the silence. At the break of dawn, the Imperial Japanese Navy moves as one, a steel fist heading east across the vast Pacific. At dawn on December 7th, the carriers turned into the wind. The first wave prepared to launch their historic attack. 4 Japanese carriers advanced toward Midway, confident the American fleet is nowhere nearby. As the sun rises, the sounds of the flight deck intensify. Every launch is a dance with the elements.
The catapult is charged, the deck crew is clear. Now begins the 8-second ballet from standstill to airborne.
On the flight decks, engines begin waking one by one, turning calm steel into a machine of war.
Every morning, the ritual was the same. Sputtering to life, the radial engines were a symphony of steel and fire, ready for the skies.
As the dawn breaks, the signal is given. The squadron is green across the board and ready to launch.
One by one, Japanese aircraft race down the deck and lift into the brightening morning sky. The Corsair hits the deck seam, a moment of truth before the drop. With the catapult engaged, the Super Hornet prepares for launch. This is the moment of truth for the pilots and the deck crew.
Within minutes, the strike force is airborne, heading straight for Midway across the open Pacific.
At high altitude, the morning sun brings little warmth. The mission parameters are clear. Maintain formation and reach the target before nightfall.
Through the dawn's early light, they flew as one, steadfast towards the objective. Far ahead, the tiny island of Midway waits under the rising sun.
The fleet continues toward the target. Ahead, the island remains obscured by the persistent coastal haze.
On Midway Island, radar operators detect aircraft approaching from the west.
Unidentified contacts approaching the exclusion zone. We are reading hostile intent.
Command, we have multiple unidentified contacts closing rapidly on bearing 090. They are not responding to hails. I repeat, this is not a drill. Scramble immediately. Alarms echo across the island as soldiers rush toward their battle stations.
Each shell weighs nearly 50 pounds, yet the crew must load them manually, a grueling task under constant threat.
As the enemy closed in, the heavy guns were their last hope. Japanese bombers appear over the island and begin their attack. With the target locked, the pilot releases the payload, sending it screaming towards the island defenses.
The bombardment began without warning, turning the airfield into a scene of total chaos and destruction.
Explosions tear across the airfield as defenders open fire.
The bombardment escalated rapidly, turning the runway into an inferno as the blast wave ripped through the defenses.
Above the inferno, the bombers continued their relentless assault, turning the once lush landscape into a smoldering ruin. Midway's defenders fire back as the sky fills with aircraft and smoke. Above the smoke, they were just silhouettes, instruments of a terrible fury unleashed upon the world below.
The explosion delivered a crippling blow to the hangar's supports. As the dust settled, the bombardment continued.
Fires spread across the airfield as the bombing continues.
Get him up! Move to the barrier! Right outside to the front!
I'm pulling! Just a little further.
With every blast, they protected the skies above, the sharp crack of the artillery echoing the desperate struggle for air superiority.
Far to the east, American carriers prepare their own strike.
Every mission began the same way. The roar of the engine, the shaking of the fuselage, and the cold reality of what lay ahead.
8 to 7 octane aviation fuel ignites, bringing the massive RT-100 double to life. American aircraft race down the deck, heading toward the enemy fleet.
There is no gentle takeoff here. It's a violent burst of speed from standstill to sky in the length of a football field.
With the fleet below, the strike group establishes formation. They climb towards the rising sun, ready for the battles ahead.
American squadrons spread across the sky, searching for the Japanese carriers.
The search phase is now active. All units maintain strict visual contact with the ground until the target is acquired.
The search continues across the vast expanse, covering thousands of square miles of open ocean.
Across hundreds of miles of ocean, American pilots search for the Japanese fleet.
Sector Gamma is clear, but the glare makes tracking difficult. They could be anywhere in this turbulence.
For long minutes there is nothing but water and sky.
Somewhere inside the immense amount of blue, the Stargate waited. The scout plane had maintained its patrols a solitary zone.
Inside the vibrating cockpit, the search for the objective continued. He raised the binoculars, looking for any sign of movement below.
Then suddenly, ships appear on the horizon.
From the air, the sheer scale of the Japanese fleet became terrifyingly clear. Cruisers, destroyers, and comprising the Akagi, the Kaga, and the Soryu, this enemy fleet was a formidable sight. The scout plane confirms the location of the massive Japanese fleet. All carriers present and accounted for, steering eastward.
The pilot sends the message every American commander is waiting for.
Mayday, Mayday, this is Sector 4. Our coordinates are 390. Request immediate assistance. The fleet is under heavy fire and we are losing altitude.
With the transmission confirmed, the aircraft banked hard, accelerating away from the known threat.
Within minutes, American carriers launch every aircraft they can. This was the reality of carrier warfare. 75 feet of deck space stood between them and the ocean.
The strike force is airborne and heading out. Target acquisition in T-minus 5 minutes.
The first American torpedo squadrons descend toward the Japanese fleet.
With wingtips almost touching the churning sea, the bombers pressed onward towards the distant Japanese fleet, stabilizing for the attack run. The first wave of torpedo bombers pressed the attack, flying dangerously low over the Pacific towards the enemy fleet.
Japanese Zero fighters dive from above to intercept the attackers.
The Zero, faster and more maneuverable, quickly closed the distance on the aging Devastator.
Despite the attack, the torpedo bombers continue straight toward the fleet. The damage was critical, the descent accelerating.
I'm losing her! Mayday! Mayday! Requesting immediate assistance!
One by one, American aircraft are shot down.
And with a roar, the great beast fell. The cost of this war grows steeper every day. Against all odds, the lone survivor pushed deeper into the flak, maintaining the attack momentum.
The few surviving pilots continue forward, despite impossible odds.
The Devastator made its final approach through a wall of steel, a desperate gamble against the might of the Imperial fleet. The attack run complete, the bomber skims the waves, desperately evading the relentless barrage of flak smoke and fire from the massive carrier.
The sacrifice pulls the Japanese fighters down toward the sea. As the fighters clash below, we ascend to witness the final phase. The dive bombers are arriving.